we're going to hop into just a little preview on some college basketball. I know we haven't been in that. So, Max, have you been into the college basketball really this year? Or?
Honestly, I've caught a couple games. I watched a Rutgers game with you and then a couple other games here and there, but not as much as I'd like to be.
Gotcha. All good. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my top 3 sleepers going into March. So this week is the last week, of the regular season. Then we're hopping into conference tournament play, and then obviously the big dance, the March Madness tournament towards the end of March. So really exciting time for college basketball right now. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my 3 biggest sleepers right now that can make a deep run in the tournament. Good teams, but teams that you might not think about. Not your Gonzagas, not your Baylors, not your Michigans. So we're just going to get into that a little bit. So first team that I want to talk about are the Yukon Huskies, University of Connecticut. Had a couple hiccups this year, but really overall an impressive team. So they were hurt with some injuries along the way. Their best player, James Bouknight, really the leader of the crew, and he's just unbelievable. He's healthy now. And then they have an outstanding true freshman in Andre Jackson. He's just a high flyer, real athletic kid, great shooter. So I got to watch a lot of him in high school, and he's just fantastic. So love Andre Jackson, and I think the Huskies could make a deep run.
Gotcha. What's their ranking? Do you know?
I think they're probably going to be around a 10 seed.
10 seed.
Yeah,
okay.
Right now a 10 seed. But I think they could win some games in the Big East tournament, in the conference tournament play, so it should be interesting to see that.
All right, next up,
going to talk a little bit about Oklahoma State. So last night, Monday, they played Oklahoma, who's number 16. Oklahoma State currently number 17 in the nation. Huge game. And how can I talk about Oklahoma State making a run without the true freshman, Cade Cunningham, who's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year. Just an unbelievable talent. Like we've seen things like him, but he's legit, real legit. So I think he's the best player in the draft going in. So excited for Oklahoma State to make some noise in March. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then last team that we're going to have as a sleeper is Arkansas, actually. Currently, they're a top 15 team in the country right now in the rankings, but it's been very quiet. They haven't been talked about that much or anything like that. I feel like they kind of have been quiet because the SEC, in my opinion, the SEC doesn't do that much for me. I don't love the SEC this year. There's a couple good teams, but Kentucky is not what they are this year. It's just
Alabama was okay this year.
Alabama's going to be a 2 seed.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
That's ridiculous to think about because usually aren't they pretty trash at basketball?
Yeah, they are. And now they're going to be a 2 seed. Them and Missouri are really good. Tennessee's
how'd they manage
decent.
to get some recruits in?
So they actually had Buffalo's coach hired. They hired him when he left Buffalo.
Gotcha.
So a couple years ago. So it started really not under him, but Colin Sexton from the Cavaliers was their first big recruit in the program. Then they got Nate Oates from Buffalo.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so they are going to make some noise, definitely.
Awesome.